Uh, Here it is. Higurashi. When they cry. Just close my mouth. It's a bit closer. How about here? Is that better? It kind of picks to the bed, but I don't know. Should be good. The body wasn't there. The police didn't arrest me because of that. But I didn't know whether to feel happy about it. Just like Satoko had said, I would fail to kill her uncle. The body wasn't there, so I was forced to conclude that as much. No matter what strange, natural disaster, coincidence, or miracle it might have implied. In order to free Satoko, I became a demon, and this abnormal world was my reward. Yes, metaphorically, I had fallen into the demon world. But if that price had been in exchange for the life of Satoko's uncle, then that would have been fine. Since Satoko's uncle was still alive, but still shackling her to him, I needed to become a demon once again. One more time. No, as many times as it took. I would kill that man over and over until Satoko was liberated. I'd already awaken, yeah. I looked at the clock to see that it was early in the morning, at just about 5. It was already light outside. At 5, once I've hardened my resolve to become a demon again, I could feel my whole body teeming with the awakening power once more. Time wasn't an issue. No matter what, I would do it. I got myself up. The exhaustion from the past 2 days was completely swept away. I didn't even feel sleepy anymore either. Slowly rose and made my body, and made sure my body was moving like I wanted it to. I could feel blood flowing through each and every one of my fingers. As I got dressed, I let my mind wander, and had a strange thought. What was that? These 2 days, while I've said it was for Satoko's sake, something in my mind had been killing. I said this was Satoko, but while actually carrying out the act, I had completely forgotten about Satoko, albeit only temporarily. Maybe initially it was for Satoko's sake, but now I was just a demon, killing for the sake of killing. As a result, I'd sunk into a world fit for such a demon. Maybe it was the same for Satoshi. He resolved himself to kill his aunt, to save Satoko, became a demon, then disappeared from the sun at Himbazawa, vanishing into the demon world. Which meant that after all was said and done, I'd met the same fate as him. I tried to avoid making the same mistake, but it happened anyway. Which meant that Satoshi was here. Satoshi had come to this world a year before me, so he could be here somewhere. Then surprised, I stopped walking. There was a second set of footsteps I've grown so used to hearing. Uh, could you be Satoshi? The empty, lifeless air wouldn't give me an answer, but I felt a strange sense kind of relief that there was someone there, that Satoshi had stuck with me this whole time. Let's go, Satoshi, once more. This time we will set Satoko free for sure. I quietly slipped out of the house so my parents wouldn't notice. If they caught me now, when I've already been out way too late for 2 days now, they'd get really angry. They'd give me a really angry talking to. I didn't have the time to allow for that to happen. Today I would put an end to it. If the dead body disappeared then, I didn't have to bury it. I could just burn it to ashes, and then take them with me, so I could kill him again every time he resurrected. I'll do it again, I'll kill him again, and this time, I'll set her free. Outside, the morning light was so beautiful as to stagger belief. I went to the storage room to find weapons, with which I could kill him for sure. Blunt or not, it didn't matter to me. By now, I didn't need to care whether someone saw it, or if the police came. This world had gone crazy after all. A world where I'd shown up at the festival and had fun even though I wasn't there. Even if the police arrested me, I'd probably end up going right back home as if nothing had happened. Both me and the other Kichimabara, even without me, would fill in. I could vanish from Himizawa without anyone noticing. So, basically, I didn't care if I was mistakenly killed. Even if I died, Kichimabara would remain. After all, this isn't the world that I belonged in. If I was going to be killed mistakenly for Satoko's sake, then that was just part of my duty as a nini. As those desperate thoughts became serious, the morning air felt more refreshing to me, strangely enough. Oh, this one's scary. Let's go with this. It was a hatchet meant for chopping thick firewood. Its hefty steel blade was sinister, almost as though it was a tool meant for killing people. I couldn't exactly take it out in public like that, so I in a wrapped I wrapped it a little in some old newspaper and tossed it into the basket on my bike. Sorry for using you for evil all this time. I'll need you again today, my legs. I apologize to my bike for some reason. For the past few days I've only used it for dangerous things. I've been riding this bike ever since I lived in my own town. I could walk most places I wanted to go, so I hadn't used it all that much. My mom had bought it for me when I entered cram school, thinking it would be a convenient way to get to the station since it was so far away. So I'd always used it to get back and forth from cram school. I've only ever put textbook and class materials in the front basket too. I don't try to put a hatchet that I would be using to kill someone in here. When I came to Himmerzawa, life finally felt fun. I met the bestest friends ever. I had some of the greatest times ever. Those times might have been shattered now, but it was my greatest wish that I could get them back, even if I had to risk my life to do it. So when I went to get my bird keychain in chapter 2, why didn't I take my bike? I don't know actually. Why did I walk? Because then I knocked over those other bikes and they got mad at me. It's how fun those times had been. I killed someone, and now I was at it again, needing to kill someone. Typical. Murder was a crime. I didn't believe that people should ever think murder was okay, but still, times I'd had were enjoyable enough for me to commit such a crime. My friends were irreplaceable, and the time we spent with them a treasure. Hanging out, laughing, sometimes tricking each other, but always in a friendly way. I didn't feel like committing any crimes, as long as it was for the sake of taking back those times that gave my heart so much pleasure. Yes, this was a value that I decided to uphold. It wasn't something I'd learned from a school teacher. It was a noble path that I chose for myself. I thought back to when I'd first come to Himmerzawa, but how on the very first day Satoko had welcomed me via a blackboard eraser with a rock in it. That welcome really surprised the heck out of me. She would have laughed, get angry, cry. She was never boring. She was the obviously most childlike out of all of us, and good at meddling in others' business. That went for Mion, Rina, and Riko-chan too. Wasn't Satoko the one at the center of everyone's laughing and banter? Satoko would always try to look cool. Then Mion would make fun of her endlessly. Then Satoko would cry, which would put Rina into a state of ecstasy. Riko-chan would be greatly delighted, and I happened to get mixed in it. We would always fool around like that. It was lonely when someone wasn't around, but if I had to name one for whom it was worst, it would have been Satoko. Her smile was everyone's smile. Ever since she stopped smiling, so did the rest of us. And for those of us not smiling was the same as dying. It was just like when I was silently going to camp school every day, just to maintain my unchanging test scores. So basically, we were nothing when she wasn't smiling. She was full of hot air, but she was our princess, cute and unhateable. In that case, I was her knight, pushing for the dragon's castle in order to win back her smile. Knights, of course, use swords. The awesome two-handed kind. I'm probably the only knight in the history of the world to be taking someone on with a thick, rusty hatchet. Then I saw an old woman in the ridge of a field waving to me. Oh my, Kichi-kun, out for a morning ride I see. Good morning! I reflexively waved back in a refreshing way. Did I really have you feeling so happy waving like that? Satoko's house would be right past this road going beyond the rice paddies. The cicadas had woken up too, and the next thing I knew, I was the audience to their daily chorus. I gave myself a hit or two in the head and drove away my merry morning mood. I took a deep breath, then tilted my head back, quelling my pointless excitement. The body wasn't there. His absence either meant my killing had been an illusion, or I'd killed him and he's risen from the dead. If I was at the festival, then maybe I should have considered it an illusion. Coach probably thought that way, which is why he treated me like a lunatic. But it being an illusion was just impossible. I killed him without a doubt. Without a doubt. If that had been an illusion, then that would make all of this, Himzawa I was in right now, an illusion. If that was the case, then here's how it would end up. I was actually in a vegetative state due to a traffic accident, and I was currently dreaming in a hospital bed about how great it would be to spend time with friends in rice paddies like these. That was a terrifying thought, though. If this wasn't an illusion, then the only possible answer was that he'd resurrected. It would make him a literal monster. But if he was such a monster, then I was no less than a monster myself. I didn't hesitate to kill someone. I could even manipulate curses. If Kazan had died, probably because I cursed her. Or maybe that was a little too... maybe that was a little much. Yeah, maybe it was. If Kocha and Ushi died too, like I'd cursed them too yesterday, then I'd believe it. I set my bike aside and went to take a look. His motorcycle wasn't there. Huh? Okay. Of course it wasn't. I sent it down to Hal that night, throwing it into Anigaushi swamp. Or maybe, just like how the corpse wasn't there, maybe the motorcycle didn't get thrown into the swamp either, but Satoshi's bat wasn't there. The fact his bike wasn't there might have been because he had gone to town and hadn't come back, not necessarily because I'd thrown it into the swamp. If her uncle wasn't around, then that was convenient on its own. Then I would just throw myself in, then wait for him to return, sharpening my hatchet. If he was there, forgotten sensations came back to my gut. A feeling of tension rose within me. The sensation was like poison, studying my actions, but it could also make for the trigger to allow me to awaken to my superhuman otherworldly self. I held the hatchet, still wrapped in the newspaper. Its weight in my hand was profound, sinister, and reliable. I didn't know what time it was without a clock, but it was probably still a little before 7. Shitoko would probably be awake preparing breakfast and her lunch, but her uncle would probably still be wallowing in indolence. A guy like him probably would have stayed up late drinking and probably always left until noon. I considered ringing the doorbell and having Shitoko open the door for me, but if her uncle woke up at the sound, I would I'd waste my chance of him and still being half asleep. If Shitoko saw me sneaking inside without ringing the doorbell, she'd be surprised. If I ran into her, what would I say? I've come to kill your uncle for you, so stay quiet. No, I couldn't do that. That would be like making Shitoko responsible for his death. Be quiet and wait outside. Maybe that would do it. How would Shitoko react to that? She would probably try and get me to give up on killing him. I'd have to lie somehow to get her to go outside. Shitoko didn't need to know that murder was going to occur in this house. I couldn't quite think of a good lie to tell her, but I couldn't do much just standing here around like this. I made up my mind and grabbed the doorknob, but then slowly turned it and pulled. It wasn't locked. The gap between the door and the wall steadily grew large. The tune wasn't even on. The oppressive smell of life in Satoko's house hit me. At the entrance there were a few pair of shoes and sandals. I couldn't tell whether he was here or not just by looking at them. I could hear a television on somewhere. The television was in a messy dining room. There was food scattered about the table, giving an impression decidedly different from a happy family mealtime. Meals were for each include one thing and the person for making it. Meaning whatever occurred in this dining room wasn't a meal. Nobody in sight. No sign of anyone either. With the television on, he must have been close. Could he have anticipated my coming and be hiding, waiting for me? The tension I felt was so thick, so tight that I thought it would choke me. How would he know I'm coming? Unless he was resurrected. The newspapers wrapping the hatchet's thick blade didn't hamper its power at all. I tightened my grip on it, then very carefully took a look around. Well, where had those peaceful feelings from before I arrived here gone? Even the sound of sweat bubbling up on my brow got on my nerves. And then I looked at the table and realized something. This wasn't breakfast. The grains of boiled rice were all hard and dried up. Then, was it last night's dinner? I left the dining room, keeping vigilant, went down the stairs and found the stairs to the second floor. When that man was playing with his friends, he looked out the out of a second-story window. It's highly possible that the room was his own, and that he slept there. I tiptoed up the edge of the stairs, quietly climbing without making a sound. I couldn't hear any kind of snoring. I didn't hear anything up there. I went through a few rooms slowly and quietly, opening up the paper doors, checking inside, but I still couldn't find anyone around. To search more effectively, I got down on the floor and pressed my ear right up against it. I could hear the television in the dining room and a low hum, perhaps of boiling water. It was then that I started to harbor some feelings of suspicion. This house wasn't right. It seemed like people had been here since the tea was on, but it wasn't known for nobody to be around this early in the morning. I silently descended the stairs and went back into the dining room. I looked at the food scattered about, completely dried up rice, an overturned bowl of mincemeat soup, a package for each side dish bought at the supermarket. Because Charles Toko had definitely been the one who made this. The food was far from Mia's perfection or Venus' gentleness, but it was sincere. Judging by how she cooked for me at my house, and from the different amounts of side dishes, I just deducted the meal was from last night. The numbers stamped into the food package read 830620, June 20th, 1983. That was yesterday, and there was food for two, which meant that this was last night's dinner, and Satoko's uncle would have been here then. But I never had any breakfast. Stop it, Kichi, don't even think about the word impossible again. And if your uncle was here last night, that much was true. If he had found fault with Satoko's food, thrown it the bowl of mincemeat soup and flung the rest everywhere, hidden deep within my feelings of calm and composure was lit a flame of anger and a curse. Should I have ever shown this man any mercy? Bump. Ng. Bump? I heard the sound again, the one from before, like a water boiler. Where was it coming from? The first floor? But where? The bathroom, maybe? I could hear the noise coming from the other side of the frosted glass at the far end of the changing room. It had to have been the sound of the water boiler for the bath. Steam was enshrouding the glass door, and the heat from it was leaking into the changing room where I was standing too. My misgivings deepened. People didn't normally take a bath this early in the morning. If one did, then it would mean that in this house time had been stopped ever since some moments last night. Whistle, whistle, whistle. Was it being reheated? The water boiler in the bathroom had been activated this whole time. I checked in a clothing basket and saw Satoko's familiar uniform stuffed in it. The uniform had stains and dried rice stuck to it, saying that's something she could wear today. It was probably from the mincemeat soup at the dinner table last night. I looked hard at the frosted glass, but I couldn't see anything through all the steam. And then an electrical surge ran through my mind, and a terrible premonition came over me. Could she? She couldn't possibly have been in there since last night. That would be impossible. But no, and him is alright, and nothing was impossible. I gulped audibly, then quietly pulled aside the glass door. Hot steaming air burst out of the slight opening. The fan wasn't on in the changing room, so it went completely white with the steam. And just as the hot vapor poured into the changing room, cooler air also flowed into the room with the bath, and I just heard, due to being hit by that air, a very weak moan. That was all I needed to know who it was. Satoko? No answer. Satoko was in the bathroom, surrounded by a thick layer of rising steam. The top of her body was leaning over the edge of the tub, and she was passed out. The water boiler kept on making a whistling noise, as if angered. I could see the gas flame through a small window. It was roaring at full force, completely blue. Satoko's entire body was boiled red and flaccid, as though her bones had melted away. She was almost like a doll, as she lay there unconscious. I wasn't sure how many seconds passed as I stared in complete bafflement. I came back to my senses and promptly shut off the boiler. Then I dragged Satoko's small body out of the bathtub. The water in it was as hot as the water in public baths. Was she in this boiling water for the entire night? She'll die, she'll die. Satoko's body was lighter than expected as I laid her on the floor and wrapped her in a towel. I went back to the bathroom and opened up the vent, waiting a patch of cool breeze to come through. Upon the breeze hitting her, Satoko moaned again. It'll be alright, Satoko. It's me, Kichi. Kichi. Can you hear me? Kichi-san. Satoko recognized me and muttered a response, but you couldn't really tell what she was saying. Her eyes were muddy and focused. You could tell she wasn't completely conscious. Upon closer inspection, her limbs and waist were twitching slightly. This was way worse than normal overheating. This was dangerous. Didn't they call this heat stroke? Think, what the teacher do for a girl passed out in the middle of summer during a marathon in gym class or something? I don't know. You can't cool them down too quickly, because that's bad for your body, isn't it? I turned the water faucet in the kitchen all the way and soaked a towel on it. Well, that's probably a better way. I then took the cold towel and pressed it to Satoko's forehead. Satoko reacted harshly to the coldness and let out a muffled voice. For burns, right? You would soak the burn spot under running water, then I could run running water in the shower, cool her off like that. No, if it was sudden, it wouldn't be good for her heart, and she would go into shock. I think I read that once before. This was about as much nursing as I could possibly give her. Anything more than this would be too much for the likes of an amateur. What happened, Satoko? You're alright now. I will be your nini for sure. I will your nini will tell you for sure. 5,400 and... Wait, what are you saying? Accidentally skipped there. Was Satoko reciting under her breath? Put my ear to her mouth to better make out the mysterious spell-like words she was saying. And at the moment I understood what they were for. Satoko, you're counting? Why? You put her little kids in bath, you count to 100 a lot, right? Satoko was counting like that, but 5,039? You moron! How long were you supposed to count in your own bathtub? 10,000. I dyed my ears and dyed her common sense. 10,000? You were a freaking idiot. What kind of dumbass can count to 10,000? There's no way you can do that. You're boiled to death before you get that far. Why were you... My uncle... Last night Uncle flew into a rage at the dinner she made, saying it's stunk and was inedible. Satoko didn't understand what on earth he meant. It wasn't much different than what she'd usually made for him. Maybe he hated the smell of the pickled vegetables she'd bought in particular. Uncle then decided that stink was originating from Satoko and shied at her she never ever took baths. And then he put Satoko into boiling water and told her not to come out until she counted 2. Never took baths. That's kind of like the tips from last time. But the one about pushing someone into like a crater that appears in front of your house. Told her not to come out until she counted 2. I'll kill you. I snapped and exploded. Raising the newspaper hatchet, I slammed through the house. I searched for anything, traces, any signs, smell, vibrations, heartbeats. With a war cry, I raced up the stairs. With such force, I could have stomped a hole through them. Then I found a futon I thought to be her uncle's, and while aware he wasn't sleeping in it, I bashed it with the hatchet. Did he run into the closet? I burst the entire closet down, door and all, and if he wasn't there, maybe there's a secret door. Any switches or levers in the wall here? I smashed into the wall after wall with the hatchet crushing them. Dust rose into the air, and broken pieces scattered about the floor. I smashed all the glass windows too, for good measure. After I destroyed everything beyond recognition in her uncle's room, my reason finally kicked in and suppressed my emotions. Anyway, her uncle wasn't in the house right now. I'd have to leave killing him until later. Right now I had to do something about Satoko. I went back to the changing room. Satoko was still lying limp on the floor. There was nothing more than an amateur like me could do for her. I needed to take her to the clinic. Coach had treated me like a lunatic yesterday and tried to lock me up in a mental hospital. I didn't want to see his damn face again, but I still needed to go to the infirmary one more time. I needed to have a doctor look at Satoko. I thought about putting her in the dirty uniform lying in the laundry basket, but I had no experience dressing someone, so it would be pretty difficult. Shit, I don't have any time to be wasting here. I eventually gave up on clothing her and decided to carry her in her bath towel. The clinic was so close to Satoko's house. It would be way faster to carry her there than to call 911 and get an ambulance. I threw the biggest towel I could find over her and prompted her to stand. Can you stand? I'll carry you over to the clinic. Thank you. Her words sounded clearer than before. She was starting to come back. I cried tears of relief, just knowing she'd improved even a little. Hisoka turned over, so she was lying on her face, and then put up a weak struggle to get on her knees. Get on her knee. I smoothly swept her up and put her on my back. The towel I put on her seemed like it was just about to fall off. The towel, it hurt. We'll be there soon. It won't be long, so stay strong. It didn't help one bit to carry Satoko. She was light, too light. The lightness actually made me uneasy. Outside it had gotten hotter, as though, so eager to attack Satoko. Fucking cicadas. Why did it have to choose this morning to get so hot? They did it? I didn't have time to swear at them. The clinic was this way. Hoisting Satoko on my back, I broke into a trot. Higurashi, when they cry? That was quick. The hilly road to the clinic, with which I had never had difficulties before, was now tortuous. Big beads of sweat formed on my brow, and at some point my breath had grown faint. The hatchet in my belt was heavy and made it hard to walk. I constantly considered leaving it, but I couldn't let it go. At least, no, Satoko's uncle was still breathing. The signboard for the Ivy clinic came into sight, but I quickly noticed something was odd, so I stopped. Several red revolting lights were flashing at the clinic. Huh? 3 police cars were parked in the parking lot with their lights on. Oh, why the police here? But Ushi did say he wanted to call Dr. Ivy yesterday, didn't he? There didn't need to be much else to inform me something had happened. I didn't want to see Coach, so I had planned to leave Satoko in the clinic waiting room and give the receptionist a message. But with that police officer Uchi here, I couldn't go inside so carelessly. What's going on? Why are there so many police cars? I gently put Satoko down in the shade of the trinket. I don't know. I'll go see what happens, so you stay here for a moment. Leaving a lady in a place like this wearing nothing but a bath towel is simply unforgivable. If you can still fire off those insults, you'll be fine. I'll be right back, I added, getting to my feet. Cautious of my surroundings, I hid myself behind a car and got closer to the officers grouped at the clinic's entrance. I overheard an officer wearing a necktie, probably their leader, and a white-robed doctor having a discussion about something. The doctor didn't seem to be Coach. It's one of those who Coach told to make the tea yesterday. So you were the first one to find us since you were on morning duty. So then, what did it look like? He was sitting on the sofa in the head office. He looked like he was taking a nap. There was a jug and an empty bottle of sleeping medicine on his desk. So you immediately thought he had tried to commit suicide with it. What else? His high temperature and inconsistence indicated a severe disturbance of consciousness. It seemed like a typical case of sleeping pill poisoning, so I immediately began to treat him. Would I call in the police or an ambulance? This is a hospital and I'm a doctor. Since his life was in danger, it's my job to treat him at once. Yes, I understand. Okay, what else? His breathing was in disarray, so I put him on a respirator. I also administered breathing stimulations. It had no effect, so I prepared a medical ventilator and right. So in other words, you did what you could, but it wasn't enough. That's it, right? You reported this as soon as he died? Yes. It was very unfortunate that we were unable to save him. Just then a radio in one of the police cars started to buzz, producing a broken metallic sound. This is HQ. Komiyama-san, can you hear me? Over. Hello, this is Komiyama. We've come up with something. It looks like he committed suicide with sleeping pills. No notes or anything. Suicides? What the heck were they talking about? Someone committing suicide at the clinic? But who? I wished Takana-san dead and she died the next day. Honestly, I wish Coach was dead. Then, could he have? Did he use sleeping medication regularly? I don't really know. Did he normally complain about how he was tired or wanted to die? Well, Ivy was normally so well himself. He never acted like that. So I was right. Ivy-sensei. They were talking about Coach. Coach killed himself. Why would he do that? There wouldn't have been any reason he wanted to die. The only reason that came to mind was that I wanted him dead. This world was insane. If I wanted someone dead, they would die. That was the kind of world this was. Then, what about Ushi? What happened to him? If people really died because I wanted them to, something should have happened to him too. I've sent you back up. The chief wants you to leave the rest of them and get back to search for Ushi's car. Yes, sir. Please excuse me then. It looks like we're getting relieved here, so please leave everything as it is right now. Alright, let's go. The officers nodded and split off into the patrol cars. Did they just say searching for Ushi's car? Searching for his car. That meant he had gone missing. Takano-san, Coach, and Ushi. When I wished for it, the very next day, he disappeared. No matter how angry you were when you said you won't wish someone was dead, it didn't normally happen. Everyone knew just wishing for it wouldn't make them dead, and that's why people could utter such curses so lightly. But the curses I uttered were being granted. At the time I hadn't been walking, and yet, tap, I heard a footstep. And it wasn't only one this time. Tap, tap, they came from behind. And they stood right behind me, reaching a hand for my shoulder. Is this Satoko? Would you mind telling me what's going on? Ah! Satoko, don't scare me like that. I'm the one scared here. I'd prefer it if you didn't shout so suddenly. With Satoko, her eyes were still unstable and focused, but she seemed to be able to walk on her own now. She looked far better now compared to her earlier exhausted state. How do you feel? Are you better? My head still hurts, but I can't stay outside looking like this forever. She gave a smile, a show of courage, but her legs were so shaky. Anyway, what on earth is going on? From what I just heard the police talking about, Coach apparently committed suicide. Eh? The doctor was at a loss for words. Her face grew paler and paler. I could tell she was dying her own ears. Kichi-san, is that true? I didn't mishear you? That's what I heard. They said Ivy-sensei killed himself with sleeping pills. The doctor went down on her knees, broke out in tears. It can't be Coach. He would never kill himself. As I watched Toko crying and crawling out of the grass, I felt myself trapped by guilt and remorse. I got so angry at Coach that Coach was treating me like a madman yesterday, that he'd betrayed me, and I thought he'd be better off dead. But even Coach, who to me deserved to die, so must have had people who loved and respected him, like Satoko here. In my selfish, egotistical anger, I wished for his death, and it was granted. And as Satoko was crying hysterically as a result, the guilt tore at my heart. I worked myself up to murder for Satoko's sake. I decided I wanted Satoko to be happy, but was that really all it took? I made Satoko cry. Murder meant taking someone's life. It meant making everyone attached to that person sad. Satoko's uncle's case, of course nobody would be sad, so I didn't feel any sense of guilt at all. With Coach's death was different. I had wanted to make Satoko happy, and that had resulted in me inflicting a deep sadness upon her, hadn't it? But Coach killed himself. It wasn't my sob. Satoko still hadn't stopped crying, but she seemed to be calmer now. Wiping a tear, she stood up. I'm sorry. The only thing I could say to her was an apology. Why are you apologizing? Yesterday I got into a fight with Coach, and I thought that I wanted him to die. I wanted it so he really... Satoko looked at me dubiously for a few moments. Eventually her expression softened as she interpreted my words in her own way. It isn't your fault, Kichi-san. Coach was an adult too. He felt like there was something he had to take his life for, and chose to do so after a lot of worrying and suffering. It's not anyone's fault. She smiled a little, trying to comfort me. I do not want to be naked forever. I want some clothes. Are you okay? Shouldn't you get someone at the clinic too? No one died from putting on some clothes before going. Satoko readjusted her bath towel and said, back along the path. Her stride was wobbly, and it didn't look like to recover as much as she let on. At first Satoko tried to get home, but it was, the time of the morning when people were going to work, school and work. So after seeing people walking around, she thought better of it. She must have been pretty embarrassed wearing only the towel. I'm going to Rika's house. My clothes should be there. What's wrong, Ichi-san? Satoko, noticing how I hanged my head, was hanging my head and spoke to me. Despite how he might have come off, Coach was an adult, that alright? He would certainly not have killed himself after a petty fight with Yuki, Ichi-san. So please stop blaming yourself. At first I thought it was a coincidence, but with 3 people now, I couldn't discard the possibility. There's no such thing as impossible in this world. These past few days haven't made any sense. What hasn't? Satoko seemed to be having trouble breathing, but she still listened to what I had to say. After the Nagashi Festival the day before last, you went home on the way there, right? And I went there and had lots of fun. So it would seem. I do apologize for getting so upset about it. Satoko remembered how she blew up at me in the classroom yesterday and bowed to me a little. If I said that I didn't actually go to the festival after all, would you believe me? Satoko looked at me confused. You couldn't help it, of course. Of course I wouldn't believe you. What are you on about? You wouldn't, right? I don't believe it either. I mean, I didn't go to the festival, but everyone's saying I hung out with them there. Nobody would believe it, right? You being serious? Yeah. Ever since the night I watched Higurashi, everything's been messed up. These weird footsteps suddenly started following me everywhere. The blood drained from Satoko's expression. Footsteps following you? Yeah. I thought it was just my imagination at first, but they stayed with me. They're probably still there. I can't tell them apart now because of your footsteps, though. Satoko took a long, hard look at me. Maybe she was doubting my sanity. Coach did the same thing. I mean, why wouldn't he after telling him this? The more I thought about it, the more I was unable to enjoy the feeling that my hatred for Coach had been meaningless. And the day I watched Nagashi, I didn't go. I was doing something else the whole time. I wasn't sleeping or unconscious or anything, so it's not possible that I walked to the festival in my sleep and forgot about it afterwards. And it's quite strange. Then, how were you at the festival? That's what I mean. I didn't go to the festival. No, I can't let myself get emotional. If I get agitated now, that would be like, proving that there's something wrong with my head. Ah, sorry, well, nobody believes me, so yeah. If that is what you say, Kichi-san, then I will believe you. Then what? That night I saw Takano-san and it felt like she was looking down on me, so I made a wish. A wish that she would die. Takano-san does have that sort of air about it, doesn't she? You cannot say that I don't understand how you feel. Did you know Takano-san died? It happened yesterday. Apparently she was burnt alive somewhere. Is that true? She died? I wish for her to die. And then the next day she was dead. And Ushi from the police too. Do you know him? That annoying and fat detective guy. Satoko nodded a little. I heard from the police earlier, but apparently he was missing. Yesterday, actually. I, well, wish that he would die. Is that all true? I'm not lying. I don't want to believe it either, but it's true. Takano-san, Coach, and Ushi. I wanted them dead, and now they really all died. For a little while, Satoko was at a loss. A long silence ensued. Oh, what a scary story. I'll be sure not to get on your bad side, Kichi-san. And that's not all. There's something even stranger. It's about your uncle. I would rather you not talk about my uncle. He was there yesterday, right? At your house? Could we please stop talking about him? I don't want to. It's impossible. He couldn't have been there. I said stop talking about him. No. That man couldn't have been there after the night I watched Nagashi. Because I... No! No more, please. No more of that man. I killed him. With my own hands. Even the cicadas stopped crying. Her face was streaked with tears and it stifled even more. She looked at me in disbelief. On the night I watched Higurashi, I killed your uncle, so it's impossible for that he could have gone back home. But still, he went back. And last night he found fault with the dinner. You made him. He yelled all sorts of things at you and then basically boiled you in the bathtub. That couldn't have possibly happened. So I wanted to make sure I actually killed him yesterday, so I went to dig up the corpse I buried, but the body wasn't there. Is that even possible? I killed him for sure, but there was no body. And you went home like nothing happened to you, and that wasn't supposed to happen, was it? Shitoko's entire body stiffened. She was shrinking away like there was someone in front of her about to hurt her. You probably think I've gone a little crazy, don't you? I don't blame you. I can't believe it myself. Kichi-san, I think you're very confused. After all, a lot of people you wish were dead were coincidentally died. You're just in shock at Coach's suicide and you're really upset. Now, tell her about how your actions line up with Satoshi's as well. I think you should stay home from school today and rest. I'll be fine, so please take care of yourself. Satoko spoke like she understood me, but she also told me to go home. I could see the revulsion in her face. I knew that she didn't want to be around me anymore. Once I show you to the clinic, I'll go home. Your legs are still shaking, aren't they? It'd be terrible if you collapse halfway there. Really, I am fine now. I do not want to expose my naked side to a man any more than this. Ha ha ha, yeah, ha ha. She wobbled up the shrine grounds looking like she was about to fall. I immediately ran up to her and helped her get to her feet. But then Satoko promptly jumped away from me. That outright rejection hurt a lot. Once she got up to the top of the stairs, her breathing was ragged, and she wasn't even looking at me. At this point I was being ignored. Well, it was more like she didn't want to have anything to do with me. It really was a feeling of rejection, and that hurt my heart more than any blade could have. This was the path that I chose for her sake. To be treated like this at the end of it all was just so saddening. Don't be naive, Kichimabara. You never wanted to be repaid in the first place. You didn't do it so that Satoko would thank you. You did so Satoko would be happy. And that was what led to this ending. Bigantron's house was a disaster prevention storehouse used by the council. If you went past it a little further to the shrine grounds, you would apparently reach the back of the assembly hall. Satoko was heading there, walking quickly, the gravel under her feet crunching as she went. Did she want to go there as soon as possible, or did she want to run away? I couldn't tell. And then I just heard the vigorous sound of wings flapping. I turned around and saw a crow. I hadn't seen so many crows since coming to Himizawa. I saw a lot of them in my old town though. On garbage day, they would flock into the trash collection points and peck through the bags with their beaks, drag out the contents, and have a feast. As I was remembering that, I saw a few crows flocking around the shrine's donations box. I thought how terrible it was for someone to leave garbage in a place like that. The cicadas quieted. Breathing stopped. Thoughts ceased. Each time came to a halt. I ran over to where the crows were flocking. I ran there in order to drive a horrible idea out of my mind. I definitely hadn't wanted this. There's no way I would ever reach for this by mistaking it. By mistake. This was not. This was not. When they noticed my vicious approach, the crows all flapped upwards, flying into the sky. When the crows baggage flew away, they exposed the garbage bag. Ugh! What had I seen there? The scream I had escaped through my throat, and I understood what I was looking at. What was this? Satoko came over as well, realizing something had happened. She looked over my shoulder, then she screamed as well. This wasn't. The garbage bag was crimson, dyed in fresh blood. Enough of this stupid roundabout way of saying it. That's right, yes. It was Rika-chan. Our friend Satoko's best friend. Well, why is Rika-chan dead? Always easygoing, clever as a cat. So cute, you wouldn't hate her. Our friend Rika-chan, Rika-chan was stark naked. She was face up, limbs spawned. Her eyes were like glass, just staring up into the sky. And Rika. Zuka broke out crying on the spot, and yet she couldn't approach her friend's remains. The crows had gone through the garbage bag and they dragged out an apple peel and spread it all over her. No crows, they couldn't do this about their intestines. On the spot I started vomiting. The sour taste became bitter as I threw up again and again. Rika-chan, her stomach was cut open, wide open, vertically completely open. Rika, crows couldn't have done this. And from her open stomach, her organs, her bowels were dragged out, like children's toys left all over the floor. That unbelievable sight induced oxygen deprivation in my brain. kinda left my vision and a pounding headache dizzy, and I wanted to vomit. It was like the nightmarish remains of a ceremonial killing. Somebody somewhere had killed Rika-chan, brought her here, laid her here with her limbs spread out, and then cut her open, her stomach, and dragged out her intestines. Red and pig, viscera, uh, um, viscera was sticking out of her gut, and her intestines were scattered in every direction, like it had been for fun. The entire ground was covered in an ocean of red and black. A few crows had hopped around inside that ocean. They walked through the sea of blood, leaving bloody footprints, and those footprints, there were several still left on Rika-chan's body. Those sinister prints made it seem even more like a bizarre ritual killing. I mean, I wish was to Kansan and Coach and Ushi to die, but I didn't ever remember wishing for Rika-chan's death. Yeah, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. I swam backwards and stepped on the newspaper. The newspaper in a place like this? The newspaper was covering my hatchet. I kept it wrapped up on my belt in order to carry Sasoko. That newspaper had fallen off. Sheesh, don't scare me like that. I went down to pick it up and Satoko looked at me in disbelief, as if I've never seen before, and froze. She was looking straight at me, at the hatchet, on my belt. Calm down, Satoko. This isn't what it looks like. What does it look like, exactly? Satoko, trembling madly, backed away. It wasn't me. It wasn't. Wait. You think I'd kill Rika-chan? But I just arrived here. It wasn't me. It wasn't murder. She didn't care at all with exposing herself through the towel. She was just trembled and tried to step away from the demon in front of her. Satoko, please calm down. Please relax. So, no. Screaming weakly, Satoko began to run unsteadily. Run away, that is. Wait, please, Satoko, you're wrong. That's not it. The way she ran away, it was so weak, so slow. So if I wanted to go after her, I could have caught up. But if I tried to grab Satoko's shoulder or something right now, she might actually go crazy. So I had to follow her and try and clear this up. You killed Takano-san and Coach and Ushi-san, didn't you? You killed my uncle, and then you killed Rika. You murderer! No, it wasn't me. I didn't kill her. What are you saying? You just said it yourself, did you not? You wanted them to die, and then everyone died, didn't they? Well, no. Just wishing they were dead that couldn't. You don't remember what you did, do you? How can I trust a person like you? Do you remember your kid and just slip your mind? No. Maybe you're pretending not to remember. Besides, what is that hatchet for? Try explaining that. It's for... See? Kichi-san, you're a killer, aren't you? Why did you do it? You were a little mean, but you were fun and kind, and once I even thought of you, you might be my real Nini. Why did you turn into this? I might have been able to slowly answer each of one of Satoko's questions at a time, but in this situation, explaining my innocence in such a full period of time was impossible. I mean, I didn't even know if I was really innocent anyway. At the very least, I killed Satoko's uncle. At least I think I did. There was no body, but I killed him without a doubt. At that time, I was far from innocent. And I killed Takano-san and Coach, and I wish Takano-san, Coach, and Ushi were dead. And that curse of mine was granted. When I wished for Takano-san to die, I didn't think of it as anything more than a normal thing you would say to someone you didn't like. But then she actually died, and I realized that if I wanted people to die, they would. And hoping it would happen again, I cursed Coach and Ushi to the same fate. So even ignoring Takano-san's death, Coach and Ushi's were completely premeditated crimes. Was I a killer, just like Satoko said? Was I unable to distinguish illusion from reality? And turning into a demon without remembering it? Killing the killer who carried out Orishida-sama's curse? No, that couldn't be. It was impossible. Ah, damn it. The very word impossible was impossible in Himizawa right now. How many freaking times have I said that word these past 3 days? Satoko had to start crying again. I was walking unsteadily. At first it felt like she was running, but now it was like she was walking away crying for someone bullying her. Why? Why did things turn out this way? Why? If there's an answer to that, I want to know it too. Why? Why had it turned out like this? After Nini went away, I was lonely for a long time, but then Kyuchi went to our school and everyone was happy again. It was fun every day. Every day was beautiful. Yeah, she was right. Those days were bright and beautiful. And yet, after that Satoko and I shouted the exact same thing. How did it turn out like this? The cicadas were sneering at the spectacle, a strange game of tag. Ah, shut up, shut up, shut up! Eventually, I heard the mumbling of the stream. The forest parted and a suspension bridge appeared. Satoko was crossing dangerously, wobbling as though she might fall at any moment. And when I stepped back from the bridge, onto the bridge, I swayed a lot and caused Satoko to stagger and fall on the spot. Satoko, are you alright? Don't come near me. You murdered. Satoko shouted, the hatred made very clear. It was sad. If words could cut this warmth flowing from my eyes, would have been blood for sure. Why did you turn out this way, Kichi-san? I really liked you. I wanted to go up and give her a hand, but the distance between us was uncrossable. If I got any closer, Satoko would start shouting again and say things that would hurt me deeply again, so I couldn't approach any closer than this. Satoko, I don't know how things turn out this way either, but I can't say this. I wasn't the one who killed Rika-chan. At least that is true. Please stop being so absurd. How do you expect me to believe anything someone who can't even rely on his own memories has to say? I tied my hand into a fist. This was mortifying. I wasn't crazy. It was I was crazy. I said I wandered into it and lost on that one night. This insane world where I was at the festival when I wasn't, and the uncle I killed was alive. Where death would come just by wishing for it. It was this world's fault. Mian and Mina started acting strangely like they were possessed by something too, and Coach wouldn't believe anything I had to say. And even Satoko, who I should have protected, was yelling at me like this. Was the price for killing a man supposed to be this high? Was I really going to be forced to stay in such a bitter world? I did the right thing, at least I wanted to, so then... Why? I hated it. Every time I asked why, the days Satoko and I enjoyed in peace went so wrong. Satoko, please believe me, I'm not a murderer. Then, what is that hatchet for? Can you give a convincing explanation for that? Is the hatchet scaring you? Okay, I'll throw it away. That's what you want, right? Satoko didn't nod, but she should be in agreement with that proposition. I come just took the hatchet out of my mouth, then dropped it over the side of the bridge into the stream below. There, it's gone. Now, you'll listen to me, right? Do you think I'll let my guard down just because you got rid of your weapon? Kichi-san, you're strong. It would be easy for you to strangle me with your bare hands. Like Hana would ever want to kill Satoko. You idiot, then what should I do? Should I put my hands on my head? Yes, why don't you? Please put your hands on your head and face the other way. There's a cunning hand, much like the one she used during her activities. Put my hands on my head and turning away means I couldn't attack Satoko very easily. I merely requested to her request since it would make her feel better. Is this alright? Please just what I have to say. Satoko stood there and carefully approached me from behind, and then she actually came up right behind me. She was so close, and yet I was so sad that I wasn't able to turn around. I sort of think I understand that it isn't your fault, Ichi-san. Huh? I think probably you have just been possessed by something evil. Until before I thought Kichi was a killer, but now I know. After looking at your eyes, I could hear that Satoko was still crying, but her voice was gentle just the same. Kichi-san could never kill anyone. Something simply possessed his body to make him do evil things. Was she speaking literally right now? Or was she trying to admonish me? I couldn't tell. Come to think of it, maybe they were possessed just like Kichi-san. At the time I was only thinking I would be killed, so I didn't think about it, but now I understand. That was the work of something evil that possessed you. Maybe he was possessed. Satoko, what are you? It was less like she was talking to me and more like she was talking to herself, like she was pressing out my back. I understand, you know. It isn't like I haven't experienced it myself. Satoko's voice started to become mixed with sobs. A pain always tore at my heart. But I didn't know what Satoko was talking about. I came to the top of the ritual storehouse once. It was a few years ago. Once, when Satoko was playing hide and seek at the shrine ground, she climbed onto the roof of the storehouse for the implements or ritual implements, which everyone said not to go near, and hid. When Satoko saw that, she could get in through a window meant for ventilation. Satoko the wood curse was plenty scary, but she was more curious about what was inside of the unknown storehouse. She took removing the grating on the window, which was already hanging off, slid her body into it and climbed down inside. It was too dark to see much, after, but after descending she realized that high she'd been, high up she'd been. Despite the darkness, she could see a few things about her, thanks to the faint light coming in from the window. But to her disappointment, it was just a regular old storehouse. She tried to leave, but the door was locked up tight from the outside, and it was made not to open from within. She would have to go back through the ventilation window she'd come in from. But the window was too high up the wall, and there was no way she'd be able to climb back up. She could desperately try not to cry and back to her brain, thinking a way to get up there. There was a lot of bird cage looking things hanging up by chains from the ceiling. She took the hanged chains and strung them along the wall. If she climbed up the bundle of chains, she might be able to climb to the window of the ventilation window. There was nothing else she could do, so she had to try. And try she did. It was dark, creepy, and she didn't want to stay there forever. The more she thought about that, the more she panicked. She climbed the bundle of chains. Satoko could hear the clinks and clanks of everything cracking under her weight. And then, just as her hand reached the window, one of the metal fixtures she'd used to stick the chain onto the wall flew up, and the chain all began to pull out furiously every which direction. Spurred on by the sound behind her, she managed to get back onto the roof from the window. Because of the weight of the falling bundle of chains, the other fixtures broke, and then one of the bird cages hanging from the ceiling fell to the floor with a huge noise. Under it was an image of Orishiro-sama. His vessel and the cage took one of the arms, then trapped other implements behind it. It didn't take very long for her to get scared of what she's done. The deafening sound could be heard from the rest of the shrine ground. A few other children heard it and gathered around, and of course Rika-chan was one of them. Then Rika-chan's father, the shrine priest, with an angry look ran over, and then, as for what happened next, it was painful to remember. The one who knew where Rika-chan's parents kept the crystal store key was Rika, so he scolded her, saying that this happened because Rika pulled a fang and hid in there. He was very angry and menacing. Just looking at him was enough to frighten anyone. He exposed Rika's back, took a strangely shaped ritual cane or something and struck her with it several times. Rika's words at the time, "It wasn't me. It wasn't me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry." That pitiful voice, I still can't get it out of my head. I should have said it was me. I should have said so, to save my best friend from that false accusation without being afraid of Rika-chan's father's terrible temper. Rika gritted her teeth and cried. It was a crime she didn't remember doing. Ever since then, the world had been strange. I understand. This is Orishiro-sama's curse, his judgment for messing up the ritual storehouse, and for forsaking my best friend. Orishiro-sama's curse. My father and mother too, they vanished in the muddy stream. My mean aunt died too, but then Nini, who loved me more than anyone else, ran away from home. And then Kichi-san transferred in, and I thought I'd finally got my old fun life back. But this time Kichi-san was possessed, and even Rika got killed. There's something I heard once. But Orishiro-sama, when he curses someone, he doesn't kill them right away. He goes in order of your closest friends, and after killing them all, he kills that person last. But Kichi-san, curse got you too. I'm sure that Rina and Dan and Mion will be cursed next, and then they'll kill and be killed. No more, no. Calm down, Satoko. There is no curse. Nobody's trying to torment you. When I tried to turn around, I was thrust away with amazing force. When my hands were awfully placed on my head, I couldn't leave the floor and lost my balance. And I'd been pushed not into the bridge but to the sides. Towards the stream. No, this can't be happening. As one last miracle, I was allowed to grab the cord hanging from the bridge. Far below me was the stream. We're pretty high up, and below were rocks of all sizes. If I fell, it really wouldn't be pretty. The entire bridge was floating under my body weight. My fragile little grip probably wouldn't last another minute before my fingers had to let go. Satoko! I didn't understand myself, but what I meant by shouting her name then. Was I asking her to save me? was I asking why she did this, finding everything back to focus and I saw Satoko, and I was surprised at what an odd expression she had. It's the first time I've seen it. It's the expression of a rightful anger, but only for those who need to die. Die, you murderer! Give him back! Give back my Nini! Give back Riku-chan and Mommy and Kichi-san! Wow! As she screamed, she jogged the bridge to and fro. She didn't have to do that. I was going to fall anyway. I won't lose to the likes of you. I won't lose to some stupid curse. I will never ever lose to you. You took everyone. I will not lose to you again. I guess this is how Satoko kills me in this chapter. Satoko, please just let me say one thing. I didn't know what my face looked like at the time, but it seemed like it was enough to cause Satoko's agitation. I know what I did isn't exactly praiseworthy, no. In fact, maybe I should never have done it at all, but I did it because I wanted you to be happy. Please just believe that. At the very end, you're still pretending to be Kichi-san. Satoko didn't seem to have any more desire to listen to what I had to say. And for that to happen at the very end like this was tragic. I didn't do any of it so you would praise me. If it made you happy, that was all that mattered. We were nothing without your smile. We were nothing, so after I disappeared, please smile. If you can go on with your new life by me dying, then please just smile. Can't you at least promise me that? Stop speaking. Don't use Kichi's words like that. Fall down, die. Honestly, I'm fine with dying like this. And those were the last words Toko said to me. Those sad, tragic, and altogether unrewarding words. What on earth was I? My desire to make Satoko happy ended up like this. Where did I first go wrong? And what was the mistake I made? When did I make it? Was I the crazy one, or was it Himizawa? Even after all of this, I thought I wasn't crazy at all. It was this eerie world that went crazy. This world I'd accidentally wandered into that one night. Because that fun world, where I never doubted all the crazy times we had, the curve would go on forever. It couldn't possibly have transformed into such an abnormal world. That fun world wouldn't have ever ended with this. Satoko pushed me to my death. In the end, I was going to be swallowed up by this crazy world and disappear. No, I probably already disappeared. Yes, probably. On the night I watched Higurashi, I'm sure that in the world I really belonged to, I'd vanished that night. Everyone was worried. It was laughable that I had taken this long to figure out I wasn't around anymore. But Shizuama's curse on the 5th year was Totoko's uncle dying and me disappearing. In the real world, Totoko had already been freed. Maybe my friends were all lamenting my disappearance and finally trying to get me back on their feet, trying to get back on their feet. And even though they were down to 4 people, the cupboard would reopen and they would have a good time without me. Waiting for the day when I would come back. I'm sorry everyone, I couldn't come back home. But this is what I wished for. It was my wish for Totoko's smile, my duty as a Nini. At this point, there was nobody left to torture you. Because Satoshi and I took 2 years but we succeeded. That annoying toothy smile of yours, I wanted to see it one more time. Higurashi when they cry? My pain wasn't gentle or merciful. It was a sharp pain. It was a sharp, violent, powerful, and ruthless. What was the compassion I had overseated in the span of a moment. And now I could die. I could say goodbye to this insane world. Farewell, crazed Himizawa. Thanks for giving me the psychic power to give whenever I wanted. If you still allowed it, I would wish one last thing. The death of this very world. Of this crazed Himizawa. So that nobody would ever have to find themselves lost here again. Higurashi when they cry. New tips, research notes. Oh? That wasn't the end? Okay. I thought it was, but whatever. I like an ending. Orishira-sama. Nobody really knows about what characters used to write Orishira-sama. Knowing that is hard partly because, depending on the time period, he had been called with various titles with subtle changes to his name and nobody knows the real one. The only thing all the time periods agree on is that the four syllables O, Ya, Shi, and Ro are always used. There is a theory stating the shrine of Yashiro, um, dedicated to Orishiro-sama itself, became an object of worship, and that people began calling it Orishiro-sama, or Lord Honorable's Shrine, but this doesn't make a bit of sense. I don't know whether this is related, but people say the Furudu family, the most respectable family in terms of worshipping Orishiro-sama, actually inherited his blood, and in the um, legend, the Furudu family passes down if for 8 generations in a row, the firstborn child is a girl, their child will be the reincarnation of Orishiro-sama. If we go by this legend, the character used for Orishiro-sama's name should be O, Honorable, Ya, the 8, and Shiro for generation. The character assignments are simply something I thought up. There's no way to verify it. If this is true, then Orishiro-sama would have been named as such under the assumption he would come again. The second coming of an object of worship can be seen in various religions, so this isn't unusual. But a few of these religions call the second coming of the object a day of judgment, or something along those lines, and we must not forget um, they mean to be the end of the world. Rika Furudu pampered and loved dearly with the elderly folk in the village. The rumors say she is the eighth grand generation, and Orishiro-sama. I do not know the family tree of the Furudus, but at the very least I can confirm that for the past 2 generations the first child has been a girl. Rika Furudu watches over Himizawa. If the village were to lose her protection, what would happen? What peace between man and demon would be lost? Would peace between man and demon be lost? Would it again create a hellish landscape where man-eating demons run rampant? The gruesome feast of the demons would suddenly, um, oh, who suddenly remembered how delicious the weak humans were, who could only cry and scream, and run for their lives. What would that look like? Just imagining it is enough to make my heart pound with excitement. Hmm, is this Takano's thingy? Maybe. I don't know who else is researching this, so probably. But yeah, that's it for this time. I apparently died, so I don't know who I'm gonna follow like next time. But yeah, that's it. So bye bye.